Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we got a game in the New Mexico for you. I haven't seen this ship for a little while. Bill Sims, we got Dimitri Dewey, Scharnhorst. Boost the dispersion of the ship. Now if you don't have that one, Cunningham would do something similar in terms of boosting the accuracy. Kadyrov, also a great choice for battleship inspirations, boosting the turret traverse. Here we got a game, Greece, domination mode. And I want to start off talking about opening positioning. This is probably one of the things I get asked about the most, and I've been trying to think of ways to do like a video dedicated to it, but I think maybe just talking about it more often at least would be helpful, because a lot of people, and then I remember being a new player in the game kind of wondering where should I go exactly to begin. For a battleship, what we're trying to be doing here is create 90-degree angles with the rest of our teammates. That's basically the entire premise of this game, is attack ships at right angles vis-a-vis your fellow blue teammates. So I'm doing two things. Number one, I saw this Arizona who's right in front of us. He was to my left. I assumed he was probably going to go to the east and clump up with the other battleships. That's what most people do. You can see Red's doing that in the center of their spawn for the most part. It's a poor strategy. It's a losing strategy. I don't recommend it at all, but it is the most common deployment strategy. So I thought, okay, that's where he's probably going to go. But then I see him crossing over, going west. Okay, well then I immediately change direction, change the side the guns are going off of, and then proceed to try and get as much space between me and him as possible. Even though we're pretty close to each other at this point in time, any increase in distance, the better. And we're going to see why. I'll tell you exactly why right now. Armor angling is how you protect yourself in this game. Look at Red's position, and then look at where we are. And I'm, of course, referencing on the map, which is a key to understanding the entirety of the game. But look, my ship is pointing directly at 90% of the force, 75%, 80%, whatever percentage it is. Basically, the bulk of the Red Navy directly in front of me. I'm as protected against those guys as I can possibly be. Sure, they can hit me with HE, maybe start some fires, do a little bit of damage. Or maybe if they're hitting me in the superstructure with the AP, they'll get some damage here and there. But by and large, they're not going to be getting any vicious shots on us. Meanwhile, the only other two ships that can engage us are the ships kind of directly south of us. Not counting the destroyers, of course, which are doing their own thing. But those guys, we got a 45-degree angle presented at them. So we're partially protected from those guys. So basically, due to the Reds' position, we can defend ourselves against the entirety of the team. And here's the opposite of our armor angling. Mutsu, not quite flat on our screen. You know, on our screen it looks flat, but oh, he suffers a vicious shot there to open the match. Down goes 75% of his health. And that's, once again, check the map. He wasn't quite flat, but he wasn't angled enough. He was mostly flat. Okay, and so we noticed that. And that's what we're doing as battleships. In between every shot, we're checking the map, looking for guys on the red team. Look at all these flat broadsides on the map. If we can safely target those guys, that's who we want to be doing, because that's when we get those vicious shots that can take him down. On Mutsu, he's still broadside, and we're going to punish him some more, demonstrate the power of being angled versus the disadvantage of being unangled. And down he goes in two shots there. So, good opening. I'm getting back to the positioning a little bit. I also like to find kind of corridors for battleships. Okay, now on this map, you know, you got a group that spawns in the middle, and then one on each flank, right? And then basically, if I position in between the spawn, the flank spawn, and then the enemy middle spawn, if I'm in between there, then I can get crossfire shots on anyone moving from the flank toward the middle, or anyone moving from the middle toward the flank. Does that make sense? So rather than lining up square with our enemies and, you know, firing directly south-north, which a lot of times that's what you see doing, try and get in between those groups. And then if they decide to move at all, well, by definition, they're going to be broadside to you, and you're able to punish them. So those are kind of what you want to be doing with your battleship. But again, nose forward towards the bulk of the threat. And once again, in this case, most of the enemy team, I got my ship pointed at them the entire game, and they're not even taking shots because they know they can't damage us, or they just don't see us either way. We're not worried about that. Okay, so getting into these good positions with the battleship, that's the key. Spacing yourself from your teammates, that's how you create these right angle shots. And then moving forward, another consideration you always have to keep in mind, especially with these slow, clunky, low-tier battleships and up to Tier 6 American battleships, you got to be thinking a couple steps ahead. So see, we're moving forward. We always like to get in the middle of the map as early as we can safely with a battleship. but I don't want to be hanging back. I definitely don't want to be back behind the rest of my team, because as we gain momentum, start to push the red team back here, well, if the blue team gains that momentum and I'm all the way in the back, then I'm going to have a hard time keeping up with the play, and I might actually get into a situation where I can't be firing on reload, which is a disaster. That's when your damage per minute goes way down. So keeping an eye on the flow. You know, I don't mind being in the front here. We're able to protect ourselves quite easily. If the enemy's more spaced out, then we can't move quite as far forward, because then more ships are going to have access to the side. But if they're going to clump up like that, we don't mind. In fact, we're just going to move right into them, get as close as we can. Getting on A here, we're trying to capture the base, pressure the base, and turn this into a scoring play. So that's what you want to be doing. Battleship play is the easiest of the classes to kind of train yourself on map awareness, which of course is key to this game. If you're not checking the map constantly, then you're lacking the information you need, because what you might be doing at one moment might be the best play that you can be making, but as the play develops over the course of 1, 2, 3 minutes, that all of a sudden might be the worst play that you could be doing, and tying yourself up with a less profitable play that can cost your team. So always be checking the map, and luckily with these battleships, hey, we got 30 seconds in between shots. What's stopping us? Come on. Make sure you're checking at least for a few seconds. Okay, are the enemies moving around? Do we have access to broadsides that we can maybe give a vicious shot to? What's the cap situation? Where are my destroyers? Where are the enemy destroyers? These are all things that you need to be constantly thinking about and evaluating as often as possible. So if you're not checking the map, train yourself. Also, I would recommend going into the settings and make sure you change the setting that says increase the size of the UI or something like that. Turn that all the way up. That'll increase the size of the map, and you can see it's not blocking anything of relevance ever. I've never had the map like block an important view, and I have it at the biggest size possible. If I could make it even bigger, I'd go ahead and make it bigger than we do, or than we're able to currently. Anyway, you can see the game. Well, Blue's got a firm grasp on the lead here. Now, you know, we're only up a few ships. We do have the 2 cap advantage, though, and that's been going on now for a few minutes. So we're getting that background score increased. But I'm being careful here. I'm not trying to come flying around here and get torped by the Minikaze or whatever, because you never know. If you're going to be going into these late game situations, and I don't think I've seen myself do this yet here, but usually what I like to do is lock my guns and then scan everyone on my team for an HP check, just to make sure, okay, is everyone on my team really low? In which case I need to be more conservative, make sure I'm not dying if at all possible, because low health ships can get taken off the board very quickly, and all of a sudden a comfortable lead, at least seemingly, can disappear very quickly. Slamming on the brakes here as we come around with the Minikaze, because that ship does reload very quickly, and we're going to assume he's going to try and defend himself. You can see he's kind of scurrying away as myself and the planes are spotting him and shooting at him. Team does a great job combining to take him down, and that's really the last remaining hope. As long as those teams, a team has a destroyer, well, that destroyer can use its stealth, get on the bases, maybe torp a battleship, gain a 100-point swing here and there by doing that, and they can still change the outcome of the game. We still have about 7 minutes of the game left. But once the destroyer is down, now it's just time to rack up the damage. We're at 90,000 right now, just trying to double our HP. That's always a good time when we can do that. We have 55,000 HP here. If we get to 110, then we basically sank the equivalent of 2 tier 5 battleships on the enemy team. And in this case, we're not even going to be taken off the board ourselves. So that's excellent production in terms of team HP trades. But I'm also going for some style points here. I'm thinking, well, if we can get significant damage on multiple ships, maybe we'll get the Confederate. So I want to get the California, maybe one more juicy shot, and then continue to move south, get a little bit more access to that carrier's broadside, and see if we can dev strike him with the next salvo here. So noticing the California was getting a little more willing to go broadside. He's just taking chances late in the game, doing whatever he can do, and we weren't necessarily firing or focusing all of our attention on him. We kind of took a shot at that carrier too, so he might have been thinking, maybe I can get away with this, but we punished him severely. And now here's the Vaser, and I see some shots going down there. I'm thinking to myself, some of them, the team's going to go for the kill in the California, so if we're going to chase some damage here, Might as well fire at the carrier. Notice the smoke coming out right at the end. I guess he finally decided this time to take some evasive maneuvers. But too little, too late. Down he goes for another 15,000. That's a look at the New Mexico for you guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships and it's coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave below. Do love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all later. Peace.